Hi everyone, welcome to Brand Boutique Elite. My name is Farhana Cannon and I'm the founder of iMedia Exposure. Be sure to go to Apple Podcast and subscribe to our podcast, Brand Boutique Elite. I have a very special guest here today, Jay Ludgrove, all the way from the UK. He is an amazing digital marketer, and we're going to share some really great tips today on how you can utilize digital marketing to grow your following and grow sales. So thank you so much for being here today.
No worries at all, Farhana. Thank you very much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about, you're the managing partner of GLProUK. How did you get started, and how did you get into digital marketing?
Sure. I came in it. So myself and my founder, he's the G and I'm the L. So he's always been a very technical person, and I have never been that. I've always been sat on the sales side, and we worked in different industries and also the same industries throughout our careers. But we didn't necessarily find that there was content that was speaking to both of us. As a salesperson, I wanted the high level, this is what it is and this is how it can help. And as a technical person, he wanted something a lot deeper. So we started a podcast actually probably 6 years ago or so now, as a way of seeing each other and hanging out. And essentially that show kind of spun out into us thinking that, okay, well, we can create content like this. There's actually something very useful for businesses to be able to put across the full message, not just the stuff, the high level stuff for the salespeople or high level stuff for the customer, not the super in-depth stuff for a techie, but a long form conversation where you can actually get into some of those, both sides of it in an entertaining manner.
I love your podcast, and you have a variety of different guests on there. So tell us, how did you pick podcasting, and, how has that grown your business?
Sure. So podcasting for us, like I say, it was something that myself and my co-founder Tony were doing. We're best friends. Okay, we were doing it as a way of seeing each other. We used to be in bands as kids. We now had these full-time jobs. So we started a podcast outside of work as a way of seeing each other and having a thing to do. We started a podcast called How to Write a Tune, and we sat down with different musicians every week and talked about, well, you guessed it, like, how we write songs. So we would go through and had a number of guests. From that show, we were nominated for an award, and I was kind of sat at this award ceremony looking around and being like, I wouldn't have been here 6 months ago if we didn't have a podcast. I wouldn't be at this award show. And if it wasn't for the fact that someone had put a microphone in front of me and said, there's this thing, I may not have found a medium that I really enjoyed and sat well with me. We then started, we lent very heavily into providing podcast production essentially for people all over the world. And we're relatively early innovators in that. So we were able to be part of conversations with companies like Nike and Beiersdorf and huge conglomerates when they were saying, well, who's the podcast person? Who should I talk to about podcasts? And we were like, well, we've been doing this for 2 years when no one else has been doing it. And off the back of podcasting, we've expanded from just doing podcast production to also creating content across the board. So video, live streams like this, and helping businesses and brands and how to get across your message without spending forever, trying to create content or be a YouTube star.
Yeah, podcasts are definitely great. You can definitely utilize clips for your social media. You can get people that across the world that have never even known about you to come across your podcast. What are like the 3 top tips that you suggest for people that are launching their podcast or that have a podcast and aren't really finding that they're getting much traction?
So first and foremost, be a guest on other shows. If you're a podcaster and you want to get your show out, there is nothing better, I'm doing it right now, than being on someone else's show, because it's a way of speaking to a whole other audience. So go be a guest on as many shows as you can, and you're looking to introduce yourself and say, if they enjoy an episode with someone they're already following and they hear you on it and they're like, okay, I might be interested, then follow that show. It's a really easy, free way of going out and just expanding your listenership, because podcast listeners listen to podcasts. They're always looking for the new show. Going on other people's shows, being a guest there is a really nice way of brand hacking, I guess, and actually, putting yourself in front of a whole other audience that might be interested. The second is have great guests. There are a lot of successful monologue shows, 100%. There's a lot of successful shows where it's one person and they're screaming at a microphone and doing a great job. However, if you're looking to increase your brand in the same manner that being a guest on a show, having a great guest means that you're going to bring some of their audience to your show. And again, they might then stay and become part of your audience. I have a show called The Jay Show. The entire model is built on that. Have fantastic guests who have a big following within the platforms that I'm looking for. I have them on weekly, and then I create, as you said beforehand, a number of pieces of content, which allows me to help with marketing, which actually leads me on to the third and the probably most important and easiest to see ROI, return on investment, from having a podcast, and that is cutting extra content out of it. Farhana and I are going to have a conversation for half an hour right now, which gives us a huge amount of time to take a 2-minute clip, and that would be great to release onto LinkedIn, or a minute clip, and it could be released onto Instagram, or a 15-second clip, and it could be released on a story. It gives you a wealth of content, but most importantly, you're not having to speak to a guest and say, great, can you also do like a 2-minute testimonial where you say something cool that I can use? You don't need that. You have an open conversation. It's very easy. Everyone's been having conversations since they were born, hopefully. And you have a nice open chat. And out the back of that, you give yourself a chance to create smaller short form pieces of video content, or smaller short form audiograms. Someone can write a blog off the back of it. You could take an image and pull it. It gives you that first high level intro to content that you need. So be a guest, have guests, and cut that content down as much as you can to allow yourself to market the show more.
Yeah, I love having guests on. When I started my podcast, the reason why I kind of started it was we were in the middle of COVID, and I had been used to going to lots of different events and meeting with different speakers and things like that. And I know other people were used to that as well. And I found that, that wasn't readily available. So I wanted to bring together like really interesting, cool people to share their stories and give tips and provide some free resources for people, that were stuck at home and didn't really, have the availability, or didn't necessarily know who to go to. My clients are always asking, oh, who does this? Or where can I get this? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm finding and collecting these people. Like, let's just share their knowledge on a broader platform so it can help even more people.
And it's great then because it's not selling. It's if someone asks for a referral, do you know someone who can do this? Then chances are it kind of moves down the sales process a little bit by you're getting in touch. Hi, I would like a thing, Mr. or Mrs. Then you're in a position where they're going to sell to you. Whereas having a wonderful open conversation like this, people can pick up information for free. They can go and be the master of their own story. They don't need to necessarily be that. So I think it's really clever what you've done by having guests on, which can just add value to your audience. Because I don't know if you found this, but I've certainly found it from having an interview show that I've learned so much from my guests. Like I'm a year in from doing a live show on LinkedIn. At least twice a month, and I've learned so much in that time. Like I didn't know that I thought I was gonna interview interesting people and have interesting conversations. I didn't realize that I was going to be such a student and come away with like such a wealth of extra knowledge from talking to 25, 26 experts across the world.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely picked up so many tips and have incorporated, some of that information in how I operate. And I've brought in like a variety of different people, from like mindset to digital marketing to entrepreneurship, to people that have miscellaneous businesses that you would never necessarily think of, but they have their whole experience of being an entrepreneur and launching a successful business. So it's definitely super interesting to have all these different guests on. So do you focus on, so when people come to you and they say, okay, we have this podcast idea, how do you break it down for them? Like how do you work with them, and how do you take the clips and, find those nuggets that are like, okay, let's do this 15 seconds or this 1 minute?
And that is, that's absolutely the question. So essentially here, I can give you a breakdown. This is the, excuse me, this is the secret sauce. Okay. This is the full breakdown of how we go about it. And it's not rocket science. It's just having a process is the only way. If you're going to use content marketing effectively, if you're going to release regular content, the only way to do it is to get lots of processes in place where you know that you can just have, I can put something in the top of this funnel and it can pop out, and I'm going to have a number of pieces of content on the back end that I can schedule for the future, knowing it's going to happen. So first and foremost, look at how often do you want to post? If you're using, how often are you posting at the moment? Are you posting twice a week, let's say, just as an example? Okay, I'm posting twice a week, in which case I need 8 posts for a month, or 48 posts off the top of my head over 6 months. Okay, well, 48 posts over 6 months isn't that difficult, especially if you're saying that you're doing, a live show a week at the moment, then you're going to add content into it. But what we would say is, if you're looking to post 48 times, let's work backwards. What are you going to post? How often are you going to post video? In an ideal world, half of those posts. How often are you going to post images? And from there on, we would work back up the chain, essentially, to, okay, well, in that case, we need a podcast that is on video, where you're going to interview guests, so we can take out enough 1-minute clips from that show. We're also going to need you to create content directly, for instance, to back up the messaging. But looking at 48 posts seems like a scary prospect for some people. And then you start to break it down and say, well, we have 4 core services. Okay, cool. Well, on each of those core services, you could do 12, we're now looking at 12 messages. So let's talk about your core service. How does that come up from? What you're trying to achieve. If this is one of the things you do as part of your business, tell me some anecdotes about it, talk through it. And from there, you'll start to come up with, okay, well, that actually, I worked with this client and we did yada, yada. This person I helped doing blah, blah, blah. Well, that ends up being, that's really helpful. That's the useful, valuable content, not telling people how you do it or trying to sell to them, $9.99. We have, no one cares. Instead, talking about anecdotal times of when things, you have solved a solution. That's really useful, because I, as a buyer, I'm able to put myself in those shoes and say, okay, well, I might not have the same problem, but actually I have this problem. Can you help with that? So that's the way to go out of it. Having those content themes in mind when you know that you need to post these 48 posts or these 4 different themes 12 times, it's not that much over a 6-month period. It's only a couple of posts here and a couple of posts there. So that feeds back up to your podcast and your show. Go and get guests that can talk about, and that might be someone internal. That might be someone who already works in the business. They might be an expert here. They might be an expert there, but let's have 5-6 conversations where we can pull out 2 minutes from each, or 2 clips from each. And then we've got, from those 6 conversations, we've got our 12 posts for a theme. When you break it up like that, understanding what you're going to release and what the frequency of release is, you can actually reverse engineer to, I need to do more podcasts, or I only need to do 1 podcast to deliver what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, I love that, breaking it down into themes. That's what we do with our clients when we're building out our content calendars. Each week we'll have a theme. And the theme comes from, maybe it's the guest on the podcast and their expert knowledge. So we'll talk about that kind of stuff for the week. Get people excited that we're doing this live. Totally. And if they missed it, they can also go back and watch it on YouTube or listen to it on the podcast. And so we do themes like that. If our client doesn't have a podcast, we look at what's going on in their business? What are they speaking at an event? Is it a particular thing going on in the world? There's all these quirky holidays too. So we'll incorporate that if they're relevant to the client. So these are like, I love that you're doing themes or you suggested that, because it helps people focus in. It's like, okay, well, if you look at it every day, it's something different, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. But when you know,
Exactly.
yeah, when you know that there's like a topic on mind, you're like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. One post a day, 7 pieces of content, and you know what the topic is. It's easy. And generally we'll do, the podcast, the blog post, then like taking the clips and then creating some graphics, and just putting it all together. And it makes it a lot easier. And it's great to just get your content done that way.
Exactly. Oops, bash my camera, but absolutely, no, exactly. And then it becomes an achievable thing. And I think the problem that a lot of people have just moving into any kind of like content marketing is like, wow, how am I going to create 4 videos? What am I going to talk about? I want to release a video every week. What am I going to talk about? But if you take a step back and start to talk to people, like, you've been working in this business for how long? What do you talk about every day? Let's go and get a salesperson up here. Cool. What do you say on the phone? Great. No, not that, but I get the idea now, right? Like, let's use that. And you'd be surprised how so quickly people can go from, I don't have anything to say, to, and we could also talk about, last week we did this, or last year we did this. And it's just opening people's mind to the fact that what you do is really interesting, right? Especially to a niche. It might not be Kim Kardashian's Instagram and be wholly interested by millions of people. But if you're a brand, if you're a business looking to put your services in front of people, you don't need to be all over the world. You need to be talking to your niche, and what you do is interesting. It's how you do it is interesting. Like the way you go about it, if you're good at what you do, and let's hope you are, otherwise you've got bigger problems in marketing. But how you do it, that's what I want to see. And ultimately, there's so many competitors. I run a content creation agency. Throw a stick in the middle of London and you'll hit 7 or 8 of those, right? How do we differentiate ourselves? Well, it's us. It's what we do. It's the people within the business, and that's what we're posting out, is the way that we do things, and making sure that we're putting that message out allows people to see very quickly, yes, I do want to work with them, or I don't want to work with them, but also understand some of the messaging that you're going to be talking about, and hopefully understand some of the offering as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you brought up Kim Kardashian. I have so many clients that are like, we're posting on social media and nothing's happening. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So there's tons of strategies that you can do. You want to build your community and engage with your community, not just post. But you also need to be good at what you do and be able to share that story so it resonates with people. And people need to understand what they're working with. They need to feel like, oh, I know what you guys do, and I like you, and I want to be on that. And then they think, like, there's so many people that think, oh yeah, we're gonna just start doing social media and we're gonna end up like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. And you could do, if you put the same amount of work in that she has. If you're willing to have a TV camera crew follow you around for a decade of your life, if you're willing to do photo shoot after photo shoot, then yeah, sure, then maybe your Instagram page will do really well, right? There's so much work that all of the Kardashians are put into getting where they are. Mm-hmm. But people see it's the same with YouTube. People are like, great, but I'm barely getting any hits. And I'm like, are you? Because if you're getting 200 hits in a video, that's 200 more than you ever had before. It's relative to your size and what you're getting out there. And look at any of the influencers, any of the big influencers, none of them, everyone's an overnight success after 10 years of hard work. Yeah. It's always the case. You're building something. And that's why I think focusing what you talk about to your niche, make it interesting to those people who will care. You can't please all the people all the time, so don't try and speak to the people that you'd want to speak to anyway, and the kind of content that you would like, providing you're someone who would purchase from you. If you're your ideal client, then great content that you would like. Push out messaging that you would go, hey, what's that? And take another second to do it, because if you don't, your competitor will. Someone else will put out the message, and people spend so much money employing good people and finding great staff and investing in people. Have to invest in people. Then let those people show off who they are to the world and get them out there, because A, you've invested a bunch into them, and 2, that is the benefit your business give. I can find your service. I say it to everyone, every business we've ever worked with. I can find what you're doing right now that someone else is doing it, and I can find it cheaper. I can find it better, maybe, don't know. But I can find it that quick. So you've got to show me who you are. If I'm going to look through 10 different versions of your business, show me who you are, so I'm more interested in working with you and not just finding the cheapest thing.
Yeah, for sure. People like working with people that they like and that they feel like that person gets them. Generally, I will speak at an event, and then the people that I've had conversations with prior to me getting up on stage, or the people that like come to the back of the room and we have a chat after, those are the people that I end up working with. Because, those are the ones that are like, oh, I get her, and I feel like she would get us in our industry, in our business. And I know that she knows what she's talking about. And, being on podcasts and things and that people are hearing you speak in a more natural way kind of gets people to kind of feel familiar and comfortable with you. There's tons of people that are like, oh yeah, I watched, people that I've known for years that are like, oh, I watched your podcast. I knew you did something like that, but now I know a little bit more, and you really know what you're talking about. And it's like, yep, okay. But once
I always did. I always knew what I was talking about. The only difference I'm doing now is putting that message out there. We had exactly the same thing happen to us. We started doing the Daily Show, which is my podcast and LinkedIn Live show. But when we started it, the concept was a daily show. So I was doing like a minute of video all the time. Literally within a month, I had my own clients asking me if they could still afford to work with us because we were doing so well. And I'm like, no, yes, yes, you can still afford us. Don't leave us. Please don't leave us. Stay with us. We need you guys. Nothing's changed from 2 months ago, apart from that we're now just releasing content as well. But the perception that people take from that straight away is that you're killing it. You must be making so much money, you're able to release it. And I was literally making videos on my phone. Hi guys, Jay here, blah, blah, blah. It was shaky and it was a mess, and it was all filmed like this and not this, and all the things I tell people not to do now. But just the reaction of that within our own network, our own customers, our own, people we've been working with were like, wow, saw you doing stuff, you're killing it. Oh my God, you're killing it. And we're like, probably not as much as we were before. In fact, we've had some time free, which is why we started this show. Should have seen last year when we were absolutely, killing everything, and there was tons and tons and tons of stuff happening. Now, not so much, but people don't see that. And if you're going to stay quiet about it, people will never see it, and you can't then catch momentum. Get on business begets business. Sales refers sales. Talking to people about one thing, they will then say, hey, I know someone, and it'll get passed on.
Yep, for sure. So this has been a crazy year, and, there's been so many people that have had to kind of put a shift in their business. And, what have you done with your clients that kind of helped recoup the craziness of this year?
We've been really lucky. We've been incredibly, incredibly lucky, because when I started the business, my biggest worry was that historically in a recession, the first thing that gets cut is marketing, right? So marketing spend, and I run a marketing company. So that's always been the worry. Whereas I have to say, from seeing what's happened globally this time, or this recession, or this forced recession, or whatever you want to call it, it seems like the first time where marketing isn't the first thing to go. In fact, it may be one of the last, because businesses are understanding they need to keep that output to catch whatever business is out there. So we've been in a great position to help so many businesses do that and keep their message out there. And, you know, thankfully for us, it's been very, very busy time. And actually we've expanded as opposed to, you know, decreasing like I know a lot of businesses have had to do. We've actually managed to take on some more staff, which is lovely. We've been very wide because we've been marketing ourselves the whole time and putting ourselves out everywhere. We found a real diverse amount of business. And I think we were saying before the show started, one of the random ways that I never thought we would help anyone, we actually helped the biggest Hindu temple in Europe to live stream their Saturday sermons. I would never have, as a business, gone after churches or a religious entity and said, hey, do you want to do some digital marketing? Would never have thought of that. However, it's March, all of a sudden, places of worship are closed, and I'm able to help actually get that message out to what was in the end, tens of thousands of worshippers. And that's, you know, how wonderful. However your, you know, whatever your relationship is to religion, being able to help that many people from providing something like marketing, it's been a real benefit. And we've so many people have moved to virtual events or how to network this way, or I need to push my message out. And we've been at the center of an awful lot of that, of helping people. Okay, well, this is a fun way of getting your message out. This is a live stream. This is a podcast. This is a video series. This is webinars and everything in between, which, to be honest, it's been a real blessing, because there was a lot of gloomy times and hard times for everyone during lockdown. And, you know, all over the world, I've seen it shift, and we work with clients in Australia, we work with clients in the US, and we've seen it hit at different times. And it's been such a joy to be able to help people get messaging out there and be positive and help actually other businesses grow during such a difficult and challenging time.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. It is interesting that a lot of, like, you know, religious entities are, you know, utilizing digital marketing, and this is the time where people realize that they need to keep their marketing and grab that market share, even if the typical business as is wasn't as is anymore. You know, you need to stay in front of people. And, you know, I've gotten tons of ad campaigns looking at all these different kinds of products that are like retargeting and focused on me. And I've seen so many people try to build up their marketing plan. And I've had a lot of people that have been like, okay, so we need you, and we're worried about money coming in because of the uncertainty in the world. But we know we need to, like, do digital marketing. We know we need to have a plan. We need to like, really actually, you know, what we were doing before, it's just not going to cut it these days. And so, you know, as an entrepreneur myself, and I'm sure you know that, like, you always have to keep trying something else, doing something else, you know, staying on top of the trends, and like not being like, okay, well, I've been doing it for this way for the last X amount of time. Let me just keep doing it, and maybe whatever. It's especially nowadays, things are moving and changing and developing. And so for us, like, especially when we're managing clients and their marketing, like, we're always learning and figuring out innovative and interesting ways to help people get in front of their perfect client.
But the nice thing is that now you can use analytics. It's not like, you know, I always use this example, but 10 years ago, if, you know, we wanted to see if a marketing strategy worked, we'd make 1,000 flyers. We'd put 1,000 flyers through 1,000 doors. And if the phone rang once, oh, that works, we should do it again. There was no analytics to say that 999 people loved it, but the number was wrong. There's no analytics to say that actually it really upset half of the people that you posted that through to, and that kind of messaging is actually damaging your brand. There was only the little bit of input that you got. Now with social media, being able to see, okay, when I have guests from the UK, my episode bombs desperately and no one listens. Good to know. I'm not going to get Jay back on the show. Or turning around and saying, when I have guests that talk about mindfulness and mindset, that really speaks to my audience. So now I can start to move my content and move actually my themes that we were talking about earlier. We can put those into, we can create new themes based upon people's responses. That was a very slow thing. you didn't necessarily get responses unless you got bad reviews or good reviews, and that is a very small section of people who see your content. I'm always blown away by how many people that I will see. Say, back when the world was open, I went to a networking event just before lockdown, and in an industry I used to work in, so I knew some people, but we bumped into 50, 60 people, and each person I spoke to was like, oh, I saw those videos you released. I saw the podcast, love what you're doing, really liked that. And I kept saying to everyone, could you then? Like, could you like it? Because you don't, right? But the views are out there. So all these people are seeing the content, even though I'm not seeing the actual engagement, seeing the likes. So you got to make sure that you're putting it out there. It's not just about how much engagement you get. It's also about the fact it is in front of people, it is under noses, and not everyone wants to click like. Not everyone wants to make a comment, but they're still impacted by that content. They still see it, and they're, part of that brand.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at analytics. I can see, 1,000 people watched it, and then there's
5 people liked it. Sure.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, why? What did 995 of those people hate me? And the chances are no, but it's very easy to get lost in as well, especially as people who work in the digital marketing realm, or as a business who is focused on it a lot. A lot of people out there don't engage. It's not their bag. They don't do it. They are voyeuristic to the nth degree, and they want to watch the content. They want to see what you're doing. They want to follow you, and they want to look at every post, but they're not interested in hitting like and stuff. That's not something that everybody does. As a digital marketer, I like everything. I'm like, da, 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 da. Right, I like everything. I'll sit on LinkedIn. I'll sit on Instagram. My wife's like, Instagram, huh? And I'm like, yep, because I follow people that I like with content that I like, and I want to give a like out. Right? I know what the benefits are of. Not even the benefits, but I know what it feels like to be like, cool. We tried really hard on that video, and this many people liked it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I like to give back on it, but ultimately, there's always 20, 30, 50, 100% more people who will view your content than will engage. So yeah, I guess it's just, you never want to get too lost in the views, in the likes, because it's getting out there more than you can see.
Yeah, that's so true. I even feel bad if I'm going through, if I'm not paying attention, I'm going through somebody's content. I'm like, oh, that's really awesome. And then I'll make sure to follow them, or what I do is I'll screenshot their handle, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to send them a message later when I'm not walking to the car or doing something. I'll go back. And so I have all these screenshots of people that I think are super cool that I'm like, oh, I'm going to send them a message. I'm going to reach out to them. And not all the time do I follow back up, just because, there's always so much to do and so many things going on.
It is, but sometimes when you do send over that message, that can genuinely make someone's day, and making someone's day today could mean that they continue. Maybe they were thinking, oh, I don't know if this is for anyone. No one's ever liked it. No one's ever sent a nice message. And they get a message for Farhana from out of the blue, from someone they're not connected with. And it's like, wow, I'll keep trying. Well, who's to say that that person continues to create content and creates the next great movie, the next great song, the next great whatever? Because they got, I think it's, there's a lot of advertisements in the UK recently about what you can do to help small businesses. And actually the answer is you can you can engage, you can comment on stuff. If your friend owns a business, like the post, share the post, comment on that post. People that follow you will see that. You don't have to buy from them necessarily. We're all tight on money, and there's an awful lot of people in an awful lot of different places, but you can it's free. You can help get that engagement out. And I think it's so rewarding when you are a struggling business owner, as we all have been globally for the entirety of 2020, but you try and put out stuff which people will find valuable, and being a good audience member and throwing that like back out there can really be a positive spin on and help perpetuate the platforms that you love so much.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really sweet. Thinking about if you message somebody that can make their day better, and you have a genuine connection with people, especially whereas people's communities or their daily interactions are a bit less nowadays. I started messaging 5 people. I have so many people on all of my social media platforms and that I don't speak to all of the time.
No, of
So what I
course.
started doing was just reaching out, and not to sell them anything, but just to say hi, like, how are you doing? Just 5 people every day, like a little thing, like, hey, how's it
Nice.
going? Like, it's been a while. What are you up to? Just to like reach out and like be like, hey, I'm here, just if you, and you never know like what people are going through
You
or,
do. You
what
really don't.
help with.
And the one thing that we so it's always true, you don't know what people are going through, but actually this year I kind of do. Like I've got a vague taste of what everyone has been through because we've all had this shared experience, and that shared experience has not been a positive one. So I think it's so great to be able to, or to reach out to people, say hi. You don't know if that's impacting someone a little harder, or maybe a way that you have got through your bad Wednesday last week. Maybe next Monday when you're talking to someone, that really helps their day out. And I think the whole pay it forward thing is really important. And with so many people stuck at home, I've been incredibly lucky. I've been stuck at home with my wonderful wife. What a terrible time for me. I wake up, I hang out with my wife all day, and then we hang out all night. Like, that's heaven for me. But there's a lot of people stuck out there on their own who haven't had that. And I get it. It's contacting people, going out there, just making a point of saying hi, getting in conversations and being positive, I think has had huge value this year. Sure, maybe not like, money in your pocket value, not an ROI that you can walk away and say it, but a little bit of good vibes out into the world that maybe come back to you, maybe don't, but maybe you just help someone's day out. And if that's, if that happens, what a great thing to have done. And if it doesn't, you've only wasted a message, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. I also have been sharing other businesses' posts on my story. So I've been trying to do at least one person a day, like just different people that I know, different businesses that I think are cool, people that are putting out good content, just to support them. Somebody sees the post on the story, follows through their page. You never know. And, that doesn't mess up my pretty feed on my Instagram. And it's still, and even people that I see have great content, I'll incorporate them. And what I do with people that have been on the show, I'll randomly find like images of them and put it on, be like, oh, check out this episode that we did. Here's a picture. We have one of you coming up. You're in a black t-shirt because we're doing like a little black and white, like muted theme. So you'll come up on that one.
Nice. Look forward to it. And what a great way of putting it out there, and businesses that you've worked with, been involved with. I always say it to everyone, there's more than enough business to go around. Like we can all help each other, even in the same industries, even like, we're competitors. I really don't, I honestly think there's more people. There's only one GLPro, and there's all the businesses out there that we can help. It doesn't matter if we're coming up against them. From that mentality, we've built nice networks of other places and other businesses that are close to what we do, but might offer something else, which we haven't even thought of. And then being able to offer that to our clients. We're very much about sharing the wealth, especially when you work with kind of, big, huge companies. There is certainly ins where you as a small business won't be able to help them with everything they got, but you might be in a position to be like, oh, that's a thing, right? You need that. I know someone who does that. It's, it's not my thing, but I know someone who does that. An introduction that always comes back. We're having it now. We helped out so many people during and before lockdown that referrals are aplenty now. Now the world's opened up a little bit again. There's some budgets to be spent. There are absolutely tons of referrals to be like, hi, for no money at all, this guy helped me live stream this. Or for no money at all, I want to do that. And he just helped me and had a conversation with me. By the way, my brother works at Lloyd's Bank, or he works at this. Oh, wow. Not why we did it. Not even, not at all the reason for going out and helping people. The reason we help people was that we could. And if you can, you should, right? But it's amazing to see how many times that good karma that goes out there, it will come back and you will be repaid for it. And that messaging can almost be as strong as a billboard ad in Times Square. The referral network of going out there and people just giving good messaging about a service they received is so powerful. So go out, over deliver for people, and they'll market your business and sell your business for you.
Yeah, for sure. I love giving referrals because even, being in the same industry, we all kind of focus on something specific. Like I focus on brand storytelling and making the aesthetic look a certain way and coming up with a strategy. But then there's other components that I don't focus on that I'm like, okay, I need this person. I don't want to like diversify so much. But if I trust somebody, if I built a relationship with them, I'm like, okay, client, work with this person to do this component because I know that they do it really well.
Yeah.
And we can't do everything. It's just there's not enough hours in the day to do everything.
No, and when we started as a business, we tried to do absolutely everything. We designed websites, we made videos, we managed social media, we did email, we did you want a live event, you want to set up an event, we did PR. And very quickly we were like, cool, we're really not great at about 7 of those things. So after trying them out, we were finding out what worked for us, and then we managed to lean into those things. And not only we were good at, but they were profitable. For the first year is always survival, but during survival, you find out, what's a good place to go? Is this work for us? Are we great at this? Do we hate it, but we deliver it really well? Oh no, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to keep delivering it then. But over the last 5 years being a business, we've managed to carve that out to know, we're great at creating content. We're great at it. We love it. We enjoy the conversations. We like the people we work with. We don't want to do X, Y, and Z, but our customers still need X, Y, and Z. So we have found people who love X, Y, and Z to go and be those guys. And I think that allows us to be passionate, allows us to over deliver, and allows us to do what we do best and only what we do best, and not potentially ruin a good relationship by saying, well, we tried, we did our best on this, but it wasn't really something that we were great at. Well, that's great. The client doesn't care about that. The client just wants to see results at the end of the day for whatever they're purchasing, and quite rightly so. So do I. If I purchase something, I want it to be awesome. So make sure that you're awesome in everything you do, and hopefully that referral happens. And I don't think there's ever really any competitive environment that you can't build a relationship in, even if you don't win the business. Bow out with respect and bow out with charm, and let people know that you're available as and when the person who won the bid messes up, and you'll be surprised again. People come back, or the next time they listen, I like that guy, but can you quote again, or whatever it comes back down to.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely enough of pie to go around for everyone. Focus on what you're really great at and keep doing that. I think that when people try to do too many things that they're not really great at, their clients don't stay, their clients walk away unhappy, but B, when you're trying to do too much, you're just spread too thin.
Absolutely. The old saying, a jack of all trades, master of none. Incredibly, incredibly true. There's no point trying to do everything half well. Do something fantastically and go and speak to a niche who needs that. And you'll find perpetual motion. It will run itself, and I saw someone talk about redefining the concept of success recently. Success shouldn't be billions of pounds or millions of pounds or hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever wealth looks like to you. Wealth isn't necessarily success. Success is waking up in the morning and saying, I love this. I love what I do. I'm very, very grateful that I'm in that position. And even through lockdown, when I hated what I did because I hated everything and it was all in my kitchen and it was all continuous and it was all far too much, I still love what I do. I still enjoy these conversations. I still want to do it. I don't want to do something else. And I think if you can get yourself there, then you're looking straight down the barrel of success and happiness.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a fun question that I ask all my guests. If you could be a superhero, what would your 2 superpowers be?
I get 2, huh? Interesting. I've always liked the not telekinesis. That's when you move stuff, but the being able to, indeed, telepathy. And I think probably from years of being a salesperson and never quite knowing what anyone thinks and just assuming all the time, I'd love to spend a day just knowing the answers to that. And I got to say, Flying. I've never had I've never been afraid of heights, and I've always flown a lot as a kid. My first flight on my own was 6 or 7 or something like that. Flew to a different country. So I think I'd love to soar above everything. I'd be fully into that, and especially if I could use my my mind skills to know if any planes were coming. Then that's my plate. That's my area of thing.
Mine would be to fly and to speak every language.
Oh, every language is a good one, including animals.
Huh.
I
I didn't think that far. I was just thinking of the pupil languages.
No, I mean, that would be amazing. There is nothing better than going to a country, knowing the language and having people assume you don't know the language and being able to kind of sad back and be like, aha, I know they're talking about me. Yeah, I guess actually I might change the old telepathy and say I'd love to talk to animals. I would love to know what my cat's saying. That would be. I'd love to know whatever he's got on his mind. I'd love to know what's happening in there.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being on here today.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's any time I'll be back because it's just such fun speaking to you.
Yes, I've had such a great time on your show as well. And of course, all of our American listeners love the accent.
Oh, darling. Marvelous. Marvelous. Bloody marvelous.
So everyone be sure to subscribe to the podcast, Brand Boutique Elite. And thank you so much, Jay. Bye, everyone.